In the second part of the video, we will practice 1. Introducing the topics of the listening and reading text. 2. Writing short paragraphs by referring to the sources. While doing so, during the video, I'll tell you to pause it and give you a few minutes to complete the task. When you hear the sentence, now pause the video, do not forget to pause it. The second part will last about 15 minutes. If you need to listen to the listening text again, which is track 19, please download it from the students page. In the first part, I told you to mention the sources while doing the task. It means if you get the ideas from the lecture, it is always better to state that by saying, for example, the lecture is about personality types, or the lecture talks about personality types, etc. If you get the ideas from the reading, similarly, you need to mention the source. You could say, for example, the reading states that, or the reading gives an example of this personality type, etc. This will help you write reader-friendly or organized paragraphs. The first part here is how to write the introduction. Remember, your first paragraph is introduction. In the introduction, you need to clearly state what the lecture and the reading text are about by understanding the different perspectives. Let me remind you, if the lecture is about classification, then the reading will provide examples. If the lecture is about advantages of something, then the reading text focuses on the disadvantages, and so on. If you need to revise how the lecture and reading text are organized, please watch the first part of the video again. You can use these keywords or phrases to write an organized introduction or body paragraphs. Now, let's have a look at one example of an introduction paragraph. Remember that the first practice in the first part of the video focused on classification. In the lecture, we got information about two personality types, introverts and extroverts. And the reading text mentioned a famous sports person to give an example of an extroverted person. Here is the introduction paragraph for the practice. As you can see here in the example, the sources are stated. The lecture is about personality types and describes the characteristics of extroverts, and the reading text provides an example, a real-life example of a sports person. As you can see, we have the sources for both the lecture and the reading text. And here we have the linker and it makes the transition better. Now it's your turn. You need to practice writing an introduction. On page 2, you listen to a lecture on the advantages of something and read a text about the disadvantages of the same topic. As in practice 1, and by referring to the sources, write an introduction paragraph for practice 2. You will have 3 minutes. Now, pause the video and continue when you finish or when the time is up. This is the sample answer. Now compare your introduction with the sample answer. Is it similar? Alternatively, since these two sources are against each other, you can also use linkers such as but, on the other hand, or in contrast by paying attention to punctuation. After the introduction, in task 3, let's have a look at how to integrate ideas from the two sources. This is the lecture on extroverts. Remember that? Yeah. Read the lecture and let's try to write down the main ideas and supporting details. Let's do the same thing for the reading text. Let's write down the main points and supporting details. Okay, the lecture in general is about characteristics of extroverts. To talk about the characteristics of extroverted people, the lecturer talks about their typical behavior and uses some adjectives to describe them. He also mentions what these people do in their daily lives and what kind of jobs they usually have. As for the reading, it directly gives an example of an extroverted person. As we keep reading, we see that the adjectives that are used for these people also match this person, because we see that Muhammad Ali talked and joked a lot. He was confident because he did not have any self-doubt, and he thought that he was number one. He was also a sports person, which is a job that these people typically prefer to have. These are the main points and supporting details from these sources. Now, let's have a look at an example paragraph. As you can see, the sources are introduced, so it is easy to follow how we get these ideas. After writing about the ideas in the lecture, it is time to refer to the reading text. Here, the transition to the reading text is clearly seen because the paragraph directly mentions the source. In the reading text, how this person is related to the lecture is explained. Alright, we have just seen how to integrate these sources in task 3. In task 4, track 19, you are going to write a paragraph. First, you will listen to a part of a lecture and take notes. After that, you will answer a question about the lecture. Prepare your papers so that you can take notes.
Task 4. Listen to a part of the lecture about stress and take notes below. Focus on the main ideas and the important details.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'll be discussing stress. More specifically, we'll look at the types of stress. Experts analyze stress under two main headings: positive stress and negative stress. Let me first give you a little information about positive or good stress. Positive stress occurs when a person has positive feelings about a situation or an event. Some examples include the excitement of going on a holiday, getting married, the excitement when you win a game or race, or the accomplishment of a challenge. This type of stress usually lasts for a short time. The second type of stress is negative or bad stress. In contrast to positive stress, negative stress occurs in situations when a person has negative feelings, and these situations could be the loss of a family member, financial problems, heavy workload, or even test taking. Negative stress can cause harm on people's health. This type of stress usually lasts for a long time.
You have 8 minutes to write your paragraph. When you finish the activity or when the time is up, continue watching the video. Now pause it. Here, the question asks us to write about positive stress. First, in general, you need to state what the lecture is mainly about. Therefore, your first sentence could be, the lecturer talks about two types of stress, positive stress and negative stress. After mentioning what the lecture is mainly about, you can start writing about the positive stress. The lecture first talks about when this type of stress occurs. After this, she gives some examples of positive stress. Finally, she says that this type of stress is short-term. Remember, you're not expected to mention all the examples in the talk. Just give one or two examples to support your ideas. Now, read the text, paraphrase and summarize it. Remember to mention the source at the beginning. You will have 8 minutes to do the activity. When the time is up or when you finish the activity, continue watching the video. Now, pause the video. As in the lecture, here, you can write about how these people feel when they experience good stress. There are some adjectives that you can use. Happy, joyful, excited, satisfied. These are all adjectives that you may use to support your main idea. Finally, we understand that good stress enables people to reach their goals. Why? Because it makes them motivated. This is the end of the second part. See you in the last part.